The excitement is growing in Grayling, Michigan, a small town with about 2,500 residents. It's quiet, still, peaceful, but this surreal feeling won't last long. Soon tens of thousands of people from all over North America will come together to participate, volunteer, support, and watch the longest non-stop canoe race in the world, the AuSable River Canoe Marathon. "126 miles, 60 to 90 strokes per minute, 14 to 19 hours, 6 dams, and 0 stops. This experience, this adventure, this race is what the city of Grayling plans for each and every July and has for the last 67 years.
I love the race just because of what it is. It's a huge spectacle right here in Grayling in the middle of practically nowhere. It brings thousands and thousands of people here and so much money to our community that we desperately need. And just the tradition of it all. I mean, 67 years, it's pretty cool.
The racers start 2 blocks from the water and run with their canoes to the river where the paddling begins. The start positions are based on the sprint times they post. The sprints take place the Thursday and Friday before the race. Each team will take a turn starting from a standstill and sprinting downstream. They then have to make a 180-degree turn and head back upstream to where they started. As early as 8 a.m., people are claiming their spots along the banks of the river near the starting line by placing blankets and chairs wherever a few feet of grass can be found. After claiming their place, it's off to all the other activities Grayling offers for the AuSable River Canoe Marathon and Festival that takes place in the downtown district. A craft show, car show, and parade are just some of the activities. Many of the fans will canoe the river this day, however, a much shorter trip from one of Grayling's many canoe liveries. There are many family-owned and operated businesses in Grayling, but a few stand out as being identifiable with the town. Penrod's Canoe Livery is one such business. Established in 1939, they've been a staple of tourists looking to make a trip down the AuSable during summer vacations. Whether you choose to canoe or kayak, Penrod's friendly staff can make it happen. Grayling is known for the AuSable River. The fishing and canoeing are spectacular. If a trip to Grayling is in your future, check out Penrod's Canoe Livery. The marathon started in 1947 and has continued every year since, with the exception of 1969, when no race was held. Until 1970, the marathon was held on a variety of days in August, September, and October. In 1967, the race was permanently moved to July to promote tourism in the AuSable River Valley. July also has more daylight and less fog than later months in Michigan. From 1961 through 1964, and again in 67 and 68, the race was shortened and was ran with two segments, Grayling to Mayo and Mayo to Oscoda. Using wooden paddles and aluminum boats, the race took much longer than the amazing times posted in more recent races. One of the most well-known paddlers is 18-time winner of the marathon, Serge Corbon. Serge, who hails from Shawinigan, Quebec, is the most decorated AuSable River canoe marathon paddler of all time. The AuSable Marathon is the second leg of canoe racing's Triple Crown. The first leg is the General Clinton Canoe Regatta, which takes place in New York State on the Susquehanna River. It is a 70-mile race over one day. The third leg of the Triple Crown is the La Classique Internationale Canoe Race. Quebec, Canada, and the St. Maurice River are home to this 124-mile, three-stage race. All boats have to be inspected and must include flotation devices for each paddler. They are also required to have a flashlight mounted to the front of the boat, but it's the racer's discretion on whether or not they use it. Many paddlers also carry a GPS on the boat to help navigate the large open water and each dam's backwaters, at least one of which is done in complete darkness. After inspection, they are stored here until race time. During this time, the paddlers can no longer have access to their equipment. The boats are specifically designed as racing canoes. They are made of lightweight materials like Kevlar or carbon fiber. They are made as such to decrease drag and actually hydroplane, the process of riding on top of the water. The paddles are also lightweight carbon fiber that typically weigh as little as 7 to 10 ounces. This enables the athletes to keep the pace of 60 to 90 strokes per minute up all night. As the activities conclude and the anxiety sets in, the boats are placed at the starting line about 2 city blocks from the water. They will, at the sound of the cannon, run while carrying their canoes to the river's edge where thousands of fans await. The cheering begins instantaneously, and the longest night of the paddler's life is just beginning. This will also be the longest night for many of the fans, as the AuSable River Canoe Marathon is known as the toughest spectator sport in the world. They will follow along the river all night, stopping at many of the designated landings and bridges along the way. For the fans, it will be a long night of cheering on their team. For the feeders, it will be a long night of strategic stops to hydrate and feed their respective paddlers. For the paddlers themselves, it will be an even longer night of racing alongside some of the best athletes few have ever heard of. Less than an hour into the race, the leaders will pass the first landing. There is not a timing checkpoint here, but it gives a good idea of where the boats are positioned and who is in the lead. Burton's Landing is the most popular destination for recreational paddlers leaving from Grayling. It takes about 2 hours for your run-of-the-mill canoe with recreational paddlers to make it to Burton's. The marathon racers make it in roughly 45 minutes. The next viewing point is the first for most fans and is a good time for some of the feeders to put their skills to the test. Stefan Bridge is 13 miles from town. The current is quiet and swift. The feeders wade into the water and wait for their boats to pit stop. They have to drop food containers and new specially made water bottles into the boat without touching it. The whole time, the paddlers are tossing old containers into the river, where another member of the feed team scoops it up with a large fishing net. The entire transaction takes less than 20 seconds, then the paddlers are back to the race. Racers travel in packs and take turns drifting off each other's wake. This technique helps maintain speed of the boat with less effort being put forth. It is popular primarily in driving events, but the physics also apply to canoeing. By the time the paddlers reach Wakeley, about 18 miles from the start, packs have been established and the racers are feeling the burn. Cutoff time started at Stefan, but the paddlers near the end start getting closer to the cutoff times here at Wakeley. The journey down the AuSable takes us to a fan-favorite destination, McMaster's Bridge. McMaster's is 26 miles from town and is a very popular stop for the fans to watch. Portable generator lights help the fans see the racers without blinding them. After being in the dark and using only the moon of the light to navigate the river, bright lights could blind the paddlers and cause injury, crashes, and damage to equipment. There are many other stops along the way. Some are secret spots the feeders plan to meet their teams. Some are public landings. Some are bridges. But 6 of the most fun places to be are the hydroelectric dams along the river, the first of which is Mayo Dam. 50 miles and 6 hours of constant paddling brings the teams to the first portage. At Mayo, they must get out of the boats, onto the spillway, and carry their canoe to the downstream side of the dam. This involves running down a narrow gravel hill that leads to the water's edge. The spectators say Mayo is the most exciting place to be on the race night. It is the first chance the paddlers have to get out of their boats after sitting for 6 or more hours. Stiff legs and weakened muscles make it difficult to stand and balance. Running downhill after this while carrying a canoe is a challenge in and of itself. The whole portage, including a feed, takes about 60 seconds from the top of the hill to the bottom. 90% of the racers who make it to Mayo before the cutoff will eventually finish the race. Mayo is also the peak spot of spectator attendance. After Mayo Dam, many of the spectators head to their beds for some well-deserved rest. The few die-hard all-nighters will continue on to the next viewing location to keep their cheering alive.
Best memory is paddling in the dark with the fog and knowing you can do that.
In both of our second marathons, I was ahead of Mike the whole first half basically, and all of a sudden I hear him, he goes, "Hey baby, I'm coming for you." So
That's probably my favorite one too. Probably my race last year was my first top 10 finish. That was pretty exciting for me. And breaking 15 hours wasn't expected, so.
Before the next dam, the paddlers will pass McKinley and 4001. Both are bridges named after county roads. Many of the teams will have a feed stop at one of these locations. These two bridges are not as popular as the previous bridges earlier in the night. However, there will be a few great fans that stop one more time before Alcona Dam. Sunrise is approaching, as well as the leaders to Alcona Dam, the second portage location of the race. Alcona brings light to the day and life to the paddlers who have been fighting the chill of a July night in Michigan. The average night in July will drop into the mid-60s, but it is not uncommon for the temperature to fall into the 50s. The leading cause of illness forcing a team to withdraw from the race is hypothermia. When a paddler gets wet from the water or sweat, and the cold night sets in, the body temperature can drop rapidly. While the morning temperatures are still a little cool, the sunlight brings new energy to the paddlers and to the fans who haven't slept all night. The portage at Alcona begins with a beach landing, if you can even call it a beach. It's a quick run up a sand and grass hill to the gravel road that will lead back down to the water's edge. The intensity is still in the air, but the pressure has faded since the boats are now thoroughly spread apart. After a carefully planned run down a gravel path to the water, the teams remount, rehydrate, and continue on their journey. As each team fades into the horizon, the hilltop at the dam becomes silent while waiting for the next team to arrive.
Hook 'em horns! Let's go, Texas! Sun's coming up. You start feeling better.
Every fan has their team they are rooting for, but all end up cheering for every team. The feel of camaraderie and community is second to none during the canoe marathon. At Loud Dam, the racers once again approach a little beach. After each person is out of their boat, they have to navigate a set of wooden stairs back down the hill towards the water, then a short run back to the water's edge. This is one of the longer portages from start to finish. It is a little more than about a quarter mile. The dams are now much closer to one another than the beginning stretches of the race. After a short section of river, about a 30-minute paddle, the racers come to the next portage at 5 Channels Dam. At this dam, the canoes pull up to the concrete spillway and exit the water. The teams then run down another flight of wooden stairs and re-enter the water a short run later.
Go, Sam! Go, Bill!
Doing great there, Mike. You guys are running good.
Good out, good out.
Go, Bill! Go, Sam!
Take it easy, Mike. Take it easy.
Looking good back there. Good, girl. Way to go. We're up, Billy. Ça partir, il y a des roches en mettre à l'eau. Ça va bien?
Teams begin to think about the finish line, with 2 dams to go and just a couple more hours of heavy arms and heavy breathing. Nearing the end and the sun is shining brightly, all of the fans that went to sleep the night before are awakening and listening to the sound of the radio announcers filling us in on where the race stands. Many fans will flock to the riverbanks in Oscoda and await the arrival of their respective team. As the paddlers approach their last hurdle, their last stop, and their last feed before the finish, the heartbeats grow faster, the adrenaline flows, the excitement gives them their 6th or 7th wind.
That's a tough sport.
After re-entering the water, they're off, and it's a sprint to the finish line. With any luck, the water will be fast and the sun will be warm. Fans, feeders, family, and friends are gathering on the shores of the river near the State Street Bridge in Oscoda. They are waiting and watching upstream for the first paddlers to come around the bend. As the boats come into view, the crowd stands and the William Tell Overture plays to bring them in. One by one, the teams will come in, and the crowd, as tired as they may be, stays to cheer every last boat into the finish. Crossing the finish line is not only a relief for the paddlers, but a huge accomplishment. Some racers say it is the first and only time they'll do it, while others say it's an addiction that can only be fed annually. These athletes will spend the next 24 hours resting and recovering. They will get a well-deserved sleep and eat a good meal, then travel back home. The small towns of Grayling and Oscoda will return to normal, and the planning will begin for next year's race. Members of the Marathon Committee will meet to discuss the results of this year's race and start thinking about the last full weekend of July 2015. The talk at the water cooler for the next week will be what was heard, seen, and done the race weekend. While the sun may have set on this event, this summer is not over. I hope you enjoyed staying up all night on this journey down the AuSable.
Bye.